Story 1. It's not exactly a survival tip, but everybody imagines building traps, hunting, building a shelter, and so on. However, the reality for most survival situations is to focus on finding water and staying put until you are found. Nearly everything you do will burn the small amount of energy and water you have, and you likely will not have the skills or be in an area abundant enough to replace them. Therefore, it is best for most people to sit in the shade and wait. Story 2. A lot of people think that moss only grows on the north side of trees. It will actually grow wherever it wants to. Story 3. Not survival tips for the wilderness, but survival in urban surroundings. Basically, any tips on how to handle a street fight, not the vigilante nonsense you see on television. I have a close friend who was a United Kingdom Royal Marine. He was, in effect, a violence professional for about 10 years. He told me that the vast majority of his training regarding hand-to-hand combat involved the following. Assume your opponent is armed even if you cannot see a weapon. Run away as fast as you can. If they are close enough to touch you, push them as hard as you can. Hopefully, they will fall over. Then run as fast as you can in the opposite direction. That is it. Just get away from them as fast as you can. Do not try to engage in a fight with someone you do not know because you will probably get killed. Story 4. This is less a bad tip and more of a glaring omission, but I have not seen many wilderness survival guides mention the obvious first step. Call emergency services. But it is wilderness survival. The phone will not work. People have internalized that idea, especially millennials and older. Coverage is surprisingly common in remote areas these days. That is doubly true when calling emergency services. Phones have additional capabilities during emergency calls and can use other networks they usually cannot. Even if it appears there is no reception, an emergency call might go through. The point is, when you have that "I am truly lost" moment, try using your cell phone before you start building a shelter. It is not guaranteed, but it might save you a lot of trouble. Story 5. The big one. Just because the water is flowing does not mean it is safe to drink. Most of the advice you see in bushcraft videos is a waste of energy and much of it could get you killed. Stay where you are. Exert yourself as little as possible and only do so to find shelter from the elements or to get water. Your chances of being rescued increase significantly if you stay put. The real myth is that survival is easy and anyone can do it. You are better off making sure you do not end up in a situation where you need to survive. Plan. Let people know where you are going and for how long. And for the love of whatever you believe in, stick to the plan. Story 6. The idea of changing your cell phone voicemail message if you are lost in the woods. If you have enough signal to change your voicemail, then you have enough signal to call for help. Story 7. Running in zigzags from an alligator. While alligators are surprisingly fast sprinters, running in zigzags is more likely to get you caught than running away in a straight line. That said, alligators rarely chase humans unless defending their nests. Story 8. The idea that you should never move someone if you suspect a spinal injury is overstated. Now they teach that it is okay to gently move someone if you can make them more comfortable or safer, especially if it will be a while before rescue. It is now thought that the initial trauma was enough to cause the damage, or it was not, and gently moving them will not make their condition worse. Story 9. First day in prison. Punching the largest and toughest-looking prisoner in the face will not make your stay easier. Story 10. Not your typical survival advice, but an important falsehood. You have to wait 24 hours to report someone missing. This is absolutely untrue. The longer the wait, the worse the outcome for the person missing. If you believe someone is missing, report it immediately with all the information you have. Eating snow for water is a waste of energy. There is not a lot of water in snow by volume unless it is packed. Moreover, your body will expend energy in the form of heat to melt the snow. Build a fire. Find something you can use as a basin, melt the snow, then drink. Story 11. Do not drink your own urine to survive. It will make you more dehydrated and likely damage your kidneys. There is no benefit. Do not do it. Story 12. You can get water by cutting open a cactus and drinking the liquid inside. Unless you are a botanist who can identify the specific types of cactus that are safe, you will have a bad experience. The fluid in most cacti contains acids and alkaloids that will make you very ill. You will vomit, losing more water than you gained and accelerating dehydration. Story 13. Do not get under an overpass during a tornado. If you are in a vehicle and cannot go inside a building such as a gas station or rest stop, you are better off in a ditch and covering your head. Overpasses and bridges are not safe places to be during a tornado. Story 14. When hiking and it is hot outside, do not attempt to ration your water. Drink whenever your lips or eyes get dry or you feel thirsty. Rationing, like you might see in old movies, hastens heat exhaustion. Story 15. Not survival in the usual sense, but those whole, don't put that you're an organ donor on your license because then if you get in a wreck and die, the paramedics won't try to bring you back. I have been a paramedic for 10 years, and never once have I looked for someone's license after a traumatic cardiac arrest to check their organ donor status. If a cardiac arrest victim seems viable, they are going to receive treatment regardless. The reality, though, is that very few people come back from cardiac arrest that occurred due to trauma because the most common cause is blood loss, and that is not something paramedics can fix in the field. In most areas, some very progressive systems do carry whole blood on the ambulance. If someone is dead on arrival and unworkable, we do not transport them to the hospital to get their organs harvested. The body stays on scene until coroners arrive and perform their duties, which could take hours. Organs of people who die outside of hospitals generally have a very limited window in which they are still considered viable, so it rarely even enters the equation unless they are transported to the hospital. Rant over be an organ donor. Story 16. For snakes. Red touches black, you're okay, Jack. Red touches yellow, you're a dead fellow. While this is true for some specific species in North America, it is not true for many venomous snakes with similar coloring. So, just do not grab strange snakes, please. Story 17. Having sex to fend off freezing to death is a terrible idea. It will make you wet and use up energy you need to conserve. It is not survival advice. It is a plot device. Story 18. If you think you are going to be robbed at the bank, then put your personal identification number into the automated teller machine backward, and it will send some sort of emergency signal. This is not true. Additionally, some people may have personal identification numbers that are the same forwards and backwards. Story 19. If you are alone, that is better than being with another person, since it is another mouth to feed. The buddy system is always more rewarding than the costs, especially since they can go for help or do other tasks. Twice the output, twice the chance of survival, since you are not likely to get any food while you are out there if you are a 21st century layperson who does not carry a gun on every outing. Story 20. I'm not sure how the myth started, but do not sleep naked in a sleeping bag unless you want to. It will not keep you warmer by reflecting the heat or anything like that. Clothing is another important layer of insulation. Story 21. Do not burn yourself to stop the bleeding if wounded. As a medical professional once said, you will just be bleeding and burned. Story 22. If it is black, fight back. If it is brown, lie down with bears. How you act depends on how the bear is acting, not on what species it is. Story 23. If you crash your car into a river or lake, let it sink and the pressure equalize before you try to get out. Story 24. When freezing to death, finding a tauntaun to crawl inside for warmth is actually much harder than I was led to believe. Story 25. If you are extremely cold or near hypothermic, do not drink alcohol to warm up. It may make you feel warmer because it pulls your blood to your skin, but that means it is pulling blood away from your vital organs and therefore lowering your core temperature. Story 26. Many people believe that when camping in areas with bears, food supplies should be hung up in a tree to keep bears from accessing them. This is incorrect because your body is also bear food, and it is in your tent on the ground. The best practice is to place your food in your car, then get into your car and drive home to sleep where bears are not present. Story 27. Do not get in a doorway during an earthquake. Get under a sturdy table. The common advice is to drop, cover, and hold on. The doorway recommendation was only true many years ago for adobe and brick construction. Story 28. If you have a nosebleed, lean forward while pinching the soft part of your nose closed. This prevents blood from running down the back of your throat into your stomach, which can cause vomiting. If you have blood in your mouth, spit it out or let it run out. Story 29. People think of survival and imagine hunting, building a 3-story mansion, creating water filters, and woodworking. Most actual survival situations involve getting some snacks, water, and signaling until you are found. The most important part is to stay put when you realize you are lost. Wandering around will make things much worse. Story 30. Growing up, I heard stop, drop, and roll everywhere. Not one viral video or movie have I ever seen where anyone does this when on fire. I am starting to think I was misled. Perhaps other people can prevent forest fires too. Story 31. Urinating on a jellyfish sting will only activate the venom and may cause an infection. It is not helpful. Story 32. There is a long-standing perception that if you are running out of water in the wilderness, you might have to drink your own urine. From what I understand, that does not actually help. You are essentially putting the waste your body has eliminated back into your body, so it has to remove it again, using more water than it is worth. Story 33. Let's say you are stranded in the desert with only a water bottle. People think it is better to take sips every while to preserve it throughout your time there. But it is actually better to drink it all at once. Story 34. You should not suck the venom out of a snake bite. This is a dangerous myth that appears in many old movies. Cutting into the wound and putting mouth bacteria into a deep wound is harmful. It is not possible to create enough suction to remove a meaningful amount of venom, and you risk poisoning yourself if you have any small cuts in your mouth. The correct action is to keep the victim calm and as still as possible, keep the bite below the heart, and get them to a hospital immediately. Story 35. On your first day in prison or jail, find the biggest, meanest-looking person and avoid conflict to gain respect. Chances are, they will anticipate any aggression and respond before you can act. If you attack, you likely won't succeed in taking them down, and they will overpower you. If they do fall, they may quickly get back up and continue the fight. If they remain down, their associates may seek retaliation once they recover. So what should you do? Leave them alone. Story 36. If you see a bird or animal eating a berry, it means it is safe for you to eat. This can get you killed. Story 37. Putting a wooden spoon or your fingers in the mouth of someone having a seizure. You could have a person seizing and choking or a person seizing and choking on your fingers while you are in distress. Just call emergency services and turn them onto their side. Story 38. 3 feet of pine boughs compresses down to an amount that will keep you warm in an improvised shelter. At -40 degrees, take everything and anything. Story 39. A lot of the fighting advice is unrealistic. I just gouge their eyes, bite them, punch them in the throat, or kick them in the groin. Are things said by people with no training in a legitimate martial art, or even a single fight in their youth. This is dangerous advice, especially when such tactics are taught in slow-motion drills in self-defense classes, giving people false confidence. Story 40. Do not drink your own urine. Urine is waste, not water. It contains salts, toxins, and urea that your body is trying to eliminate. Drinking it dehydrates you faster, especially if you are already low on fluids. In hot conditions, it stresses your kidneys and can lead to organ failure sooner. Can also cause vomiting, making your situation worse. You may be able to drink a small amount of clearer urine one time. However, after that, or if you are already dangerously dehydrated, it will worsen your condition. Story 41. Red before black, venom lacks. Red before yellow kills a fellow. I learned this rhyme on a snake subreddit, but I have always heard it growing up as a way to tell a venomous snake from a non-venomous one. One is a coral snake, and I cannot remember the other, but they look very similar. However, this is a terrible way to identify snakes, apparently. Story 42. Many people still think that if someone is bitten by a venomous snake, you should cut an X over the wound and try to suck or otherwise extract the venom. Do not do this. You are just making the problem worse. Make a compression bandage on the limb above the bite, ideally covering most of the limb. Do not make a tourniquet. Hydrate. Keep calm and keep the heart rate slow. Story 43. If you find a water source, remember that something else is using it too. Some animals you can eat, but some animals can eat you. Story 44. Moss grows on the north side of trees. If I grew up in a forest, it grows all around the trees. Story 45. Myth. Suck the venom out of a snake bite. Why it doesn't work. You cannot suck fast enough. Venom spreads through the lymphatic system almost immediately, much quicker than reflexes can react. You may make it worse. Cutting into the bite or sucking on it can damage tissue and introduce bacteria, causing infection. You put yourself at risk. If you have a cut in your mouth, you can also become poisoned. What you should actually do: keep the person still and calm. Immobilize the bitten limb at or slightly below heart level. Get medical help immediately. If you know the species, inform the hospital. Story 46. Honestly, I do not think shouting fire instead of rape is effective. Shouting rape if you are being assaulted is probably better, or just screaming anything at all. Story 47. You cannot outrun a bear by running downhill or ever. Trying will only trigger it to attack you. Story 48. If you are lost in the desert, do not drink your own urine. That is a fast track to dehydration, not survival. Thank you, Bear Grylls, but I will take my chances with the cactus water, which is also a terrible idea. Story 49. 1. Do not drink your urine. It will dehydrate you more. 2. Do not urinate on jellyfish stings. It does not help. Basically, urine has no use in a survival situation. Excrete it, but do not use it. Story 50. Standing in a doorway during an earthquake is a myth. What you should actually do is get under the sturdiest object, such as a table or desk, and hold onto a leg in case it starts to move away from you. Story 51. You are not going to live off of an Altoids tin worth of trinkets. The tin is a tertiary backup. The first is your actual gear: tent, pot, food, clothes. The second is spares of the first: tarp or mylar blanket, cup, granola bars, clothes you have on. The tin is just to supplement anything you lost from the first two. If you lose everything but the tin, you are in deep trouble if you cannot fashion tools. The tin can also be updated with modernized equipment. Swap the birthday candle for a bright color crayon. It will burn like wax but can also serve as a trail marker. Add a GPS watch. You can get one for cheap these days. Print a map of the area you are going to. Carrying blank paper is not practical. An A4 sheet with a map on one side and blank on the other is better. Story 52. A lot of the activities you see Bear Grylls doing. The first rule of survival is to avoid placing yourself in further danger, yet he jumps off every cliff into water without knowing how deep it is or if there are underwater obstacles. Story 53. Removing venom from a snake bite by sucking it out is dangerous. Congratulations. Now you have two problems, and one of them is in your mouth. Story 54. If ever stuck in an elevator, do not attempt to climb out. Cell service typically works in older elevators because the cab is made of wood. Newer elevators are made of steel. Climbing out is dangerous. The elevator could start moving without any warning during your escape. The elevator is built to keep the passenger safe inside the cab. When you exit the cab, either on top or by prying the door open, you may become entangled in various hazards. Even if you get on top, you must then make your way to the next floor. This is the most dangerous part if the car moves. Elevator technicians have died entangled between the car and the side of the hoistway. Most elevators have a phone that is answered 24 hours a day. Ask the dispatcher how long it will take for the technician to arrive. If this is during business hours, a technician could be nearby. If you cannot wait, ask that they call the fire department. You can also call if you have cell service. The fire department may be able to get you out without damaging doors or other equipment. If they cannot get you out and know a technician is on the way, they will sometimes wait, especially if you are unharmed. In conclusion, the design of the elevator is to keep you safe inside. It would rather get you stuck than hurt. The car will not fall or run out of air. If you know someone is coming, sit down away from the can lights and relax. When the technician arrives, they will safely get you out. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.